Hello. Oh, it works. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all here today, and so many faces I know. Yeah, so we are here today to talk about awesome demos, and I feel like I am inviting something to happen today during the demo, so we'll see how live demos go in a session, actually. But my name's Vicki Moritz. I am a consultant and a certified instructor, so I deliver some courses too. That's how I know a lot of faces in the crowd. And one of the parts of my job is to deliver demos to clients. So I go on calls with potential clients, and show off really what the tools can do. So that's what we're going to be doing today. And I have some placeholders here. So actually, when I do a demo in a presentation like this, I like to make sure that nothing is going to go wrong. People who likes to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan F and Z down the road. So one of my plan Bs is having everything pre-recorded just in case the live demo doesn't work. So I was thinking through what I wanted to live demo, because I play around with Marketing Cloud, Experience Cloud, and I was like, there's so many fun products that we could play with that we could demo today. And I figured that why not keep it simple? Like a demo should be, keep it simple, keep it something that everybody knows. We're going to be talking about something really boring today, which is lead conversion. So I feel like everybody here probably knows, or should know, or by the end of the session at least will know what a lead is in sales, and how to convert it into a contact account and an opportunity. So we are going to start with a poor demo as an example. And I say this, I'm not going to do on purpose to do a poor demo, but this is actually how I started out giving out demos, because nobody is perfect starting out. And I feel like that's why everybody's probably here today. So when I would first start out giving demos, I would come in and hop into a good old Trailhead playground, because that's quick and easy. Everybody has access to those. There's some dummy data in there already, so why not? So I would come into the dummy data and say, OK, well, today we are going to do a demo about converting a lead in Salesforce. So first, we are going to be in the Sales app. And we have the app launcher over here. We're going to be in the Sales app. And we are going to go over into the lead object. And at this point, I might have said something like, oh, well, a lead is a pre-sales opportunity. So this is somebody who needs a little bit more nurturing before they're going to convert. And we have a couple of leads here today. So let's go into a lead, and we'll go into Betty Bear. Everybody knows Betty Bear. So if you've done anything on Trailhead, you know who Betty Bear is. So we'll come into the details. You can see all of her lead details, all of her information, so that we can contact her later on. We are going to go over to the converted status, click on this button, and we'll be able to convert her over into a new account, contact, or opportunity. The opportunity is optional, and we will be able to also decide whether we would like it to be a pre-existing account or whether we're going to create new. And go ahead and convert. And then in my demos, I would go ahead and show. Oh, this is where it's going to fail. Well, over here, we would be able to see the contact. There we go. The account, the contact, and the opportunity record with all of that data mapping over so that we don't lose any data. Now, the problem with this demo, as you might have noticed, it wasn't the most engaging demo. It didn't do a really, really great job of convincing whoever this potential client was of actually making a purchase, or maybe even people on my team, because it might not be that you're demoing out to a client. Really, we do demos in whatever we do. If we're building something and showing it to our team members, we're actually doing a demo. So I wanted to break it down today and say, well, actually, what happened with this demo? And what can we do to make it better? So my tip number one here would be to get to know your audience. Who am I demoing for in the first place? First thing I do is I ask, who's the company that we're demoing for? If I am in a position where I'm working with an AE and they have a company or partner that is looking to purchase Salesforce or looking to start a project, who is my audience? Or is it somebody that's on my internal team? Am I doing a show and tell and showing off a really cool solution that I built? And what are they interested in? Why are they here today? So getting to know the company, I start to get to know their skill set. I start to get to know who's going to be at that meeting in the first place, who's going to be on the call, who's going to be in the room. What are their pain points? Why are they here today? And it might not be that you have all of this information. So this is the stuff I try to get. I'd say I get it maybe 30% of the time. What's their business? And then if you don't know what their business is, look them up. We have Google, we have search engines. We can find out a whole bunch of stuff about the company and make them feel like we've really got to know them before we even meet. And that way, you know a little bit about the business. And it may even be that you call on your network. If you're delivering a demo as a part of a consultancy or as an architect, then you may go out and say, oh, I know somebody who works in field service lightning. I'm going to go knock on his door and see if he can just raise up what are the biggest questions that they have, or what is the, I don't know this point of the business or what this phrase means. And you can really use your network to help you there. So I have a bunch of tips. I won't read the slides for you today because that's boring. But if you don't know any of the answers, go ahead and check them out online. Now, the next thing I do is I start to create the story, because one of the things that Salesforce and Trailhead do really well is that there's always a story that you're following. If you've ever done a marketing badge, you know NTO Outfitters, and you get to know the story as you're going. So really, you do want to have characters. You want to turn the people who are going to be using the solution into your characters and into your storyline. You want to turn the pain points that they have into these problems that they're going to be overcoming with your solution. And this is how you're going to get them engaged. And there's a whole bunch of great material out there. I've read marketing books around building a story brand and everything like that, where it really does help you to deliver a demo that's engaging and get people interested, because we're able to empathize with things that are talking about us a little bit more than if we're talking about some random person out there or some hypothetical user. Next on up is make it personal. So I actually I think it was last week, Johan put up a really good tweet and had some back and forth around demos, and I was like, oh, why recreate the wheel when I can just take a screenshot of that and stick that up here for you guys? So I already had some of this here, to be fair, but use the logos, make it personal. If you are demoing the core platform, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, put the branding on it. Use the logos and the colors so that as soon as somebody comes in to the demo, they're already relating to you and to what you're showing off. And it all goes back to the psychology of why we make decisions in the first place. You'll make a lot of decisions without even knowing it if you see your favorite color on the screen or something like that. There's so much that goes into our decision-making process. So might as well get a leg up there. And also, we want people to be focused in on what we're talking about. So remove anything distracting. When you sign up for a demo org, you have access to all of the apps in App Launcher. Get rid of them. Take access away so that when you go into the App Launcher, they only see what they need to see, and they're not getting distracted trying to figure out, oh, what does that do? Should I be using that? Take fields away that they don't need. And show how they're going to be using it day to day, because we're talking about end users here. So one thing, just by the way, I don't see the time counting down. So I don't know quite how long I have left, but hopefully we're doing OK. But take away all of that XX functionality and start to walk them through what their day-to-day is going to be. And this list is not exhaustive. So Johan and myself both just wanted to put a little disclaimer up there. And I would love in question and answer session at the end, if anybody sees anything that you're like, oh, I do this, and that would be really cool. Raise your hand, let us know. And it'll be great to share and walk away with even more. And you'll see some of the things in the Twitter post here are things like writing a script. So if you're doing a really big demo for a really big client, you might take the time to write a script and go through the script yourself and say, OK, this is what I'm going to touch on first. Practice, prep. A lot of time goes into a prep. If a demo is done really well, they make it look easy. It looks like they just walked up and woke up in the morning, hopped into a CRM org, and started to show people around. And actually, you'll find out that a lot of time, a lot of practice went into delivering those demos. So practice, 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 never wing it. And narrate your demo. So this is one of the things that I first came across when I was doing my Dreamforce speech around accessibility, because it was one of the things with people with accessibility issues. They said that actually saying point here was really limiting, because if you have a vision impairment or anything like that, you don't necessarily know what over here means. So I put up a slide with a little screenshot of the gear, the settings gear. And I feel like we all know that one. We've all probably pointed people to it at some point. And we say, well, now we click here to go to the user record. And I've done that. I mean, I feel like most people in the audience have probably said that phrase at some point. And actually, if you narrate your demos as you're going, you're telling the story and you're explaining where you're going as you go along. And it makes it more accessibility friendly, but it also makes it better for a better demo at the end of the day. It makes it better for everybody who's listening. If you get distracted with something, we all have notifications pinging up all the time and things like that. You might look away for 1 second. If you're listening to somebody's doing a demo and they say, click over here, you blinked, you lost it, you're lost. But if you say, and now we're going to click on the gear in the upper right-hand corner, and this is where we're going to be spending a lot of our time as admins because this gets us to the back end of the system. You're explaining, you're creating value at the same time. It's a little bit longer, but it's definitely worth it at the end of the day. Then my tip number 5 is be yourself. All of us are different. All of us have unique personalities. When I'm delivering my classes, I like to tell dad jokes and things like that during them, just to mix it up a little bit. But bring your personality to the demo, because if you are selling to a client, that's what's going to get them hooked in a little bit too, is that you're personable, that they make a connection with you. And it just helps to share who you are at the end of the day. And each one of you are awesome, so you might as well bring a little bit of that to your demo. So now we're going to have some fun. And now we're going to come into my second instance, which is nice and branded. And again, I was thinking about who could I make this as my customer, as my person. And I said, well, why not make it the event itself? So just a disclaimer, this is not what Francis, Todd, Amanda, Louise, and anybody else who was organizing was using, but they could, maybe next year. And I have all of my branding on here, and this time I will tell a different story. So let's go. We'll say, well, welcome to your brand new Salesforce instance. This is what you're going to be using every day, and you are going to be logging in and coming into the app launcher and coming into your London's Calling 2022 app. So once we're in here, you'll see all of your branding and images in here. You'll come into a nice home page where you have a whole lot of extra detail. And now we're going to be looking at the lead conversions. So we have some leads in here, and we are going to say that our leads are all pre-sales people. So these people need a little bit more nurturing. They've showed some interest in us, but aren't quite there yet. So before I go into the conversion process, I'm going to give you a little bit of extra. So we have all of our accounts in here. So all of our accounts are going to be the companies that are involved with us. So we have all of these awesome accounts, and it just works out well that the winner of the Demo Jam is the top of my account list. So we have all of our accounts in here. You can see that their brands are on top. And these are going to be all of the people that you are working with, and we can see how they are related to the account. So I can see that Mark Jones is working with Cloud Galacticos, and I can see his picture up here, and I can see all of the most recent news around him. So this one's not going to load. There we go. Through his Twitter account. And then we have all of these sales opportunities. So these are going to be your points of sale. And it might not be that you're selling something. In our case, we have sponsors, but also an opportunity to get engaged with us is also as a speaker, as a volunteer, as an attendee. So these opportunities are going to be tracking all of that for you. And you'll be able to move our opportunities along to the correct stage as you go closing and winning your sponsorship. And now we're going to go back to our lead conversion process, because that's what we're here for today. And we are going to say that, awesome, we've been on the phone, and maybe Louise has been on the phone with Mark Benioff, lucky Louise. And she says, OK, well, Mark Benioff has just told me that he is ready to come on board, and he wants to sponsor our event. So we're going to sign up Mark Benioff as a sponsor. So we see that Mark Benioff has submitted through our web form all of his information. And now Louise is going to come over and click the converted button so that we convert Mark Benioff into a full-fledged sponsor. So we do not have Salesforce in here as an account yet. So we're going to create a brand new account for Salesforce, a brand new contact for Mark Benioff, and for our opportunity, we are going to sign him up as a platinum. And this happens in demos too, where you get fat fingers. a platinum sponsor, and it is Salesforce. Let's take out that little dash at the bottom. And we'll see that you have sponsorship or other types of opportunities here as well. So he is a sponsor. We are going to go ahead and convert him. And Louise is going to do a little happy dance because she has Mark Benioff signing up as a sponsor. We can see all of his information being mapped over, and then you can continue that experience by adding additional information and really tracking as those sponsorship conversations go. Because maybe at this point it's only been an oral agreement that he has said, yeah, I want to go ahead and sponsor. But we're going to go through all of the paperwork and everything like that, any negotiation that needs to happen. And now Luis has finally closed the deal, so he is ready to send over a nice big check so we can do a lot of fun things and hand out a lot of great swag at the London's Calling event. So we're going to go over and convert him, and voila, he is a converted, closed-won sales opportunity. So that was relatively short. A lot of work went into that demo, and this is what I've been playing with more than my slides. So you may notice that the slides are not that great. But the demo org, I've been playing with this all of last week, and up until last night, making little tweaks and changes. Ooh, I can do this or that, or connecting all of the Twitter accounts so all of those logos show up. And that is maybe not because they're going to necessarily be seeing that part. We weren't focusing on contacts as part of this demo, but it got them engaged, and just being able to have that brand recognition of a logo against a contact and records that reflected their actual business and industry, that made it a whole lot more engaging, or I hope it did at least. So that brings us up to our resources. So for resources, I said that we have demo storytelling on Trailhead, demo delivery essentials, public speaking skills, taking a course. There's a lot of great consultancy-type courses or members of the community who are putting on courses as well. So raise your hand, sign up for something, whether it is a free or paid course. There's a lot out there, or even on YouTube, you can find some great stuff. And then another one is practice by sharing with your local community groups. Because what I'm doing right now is actually practicing my demo skills in front of all of you, so I'm upskilling at the same time. And you can do the same. So as you're creating your awesome solutions out there, go ahead and show them off. It makes you feel good, and it helps other people because they're upskilling too and learning that knowledge, and then you're also practicing at the same time. Because nobody becomes a great presenter, a great demo, a giver, for a lack of a better word there, right off the bat. It takes practice and trying over and over again. And one thing that, as an instructor, I heard about first, but it works well with demos too, is listening to yourself on a recording. It's really, really, really uncomfortable. I hate the sound of my voice. I'll watch the session, but I'll cringe every time I hear myself, and I feel like we're all the same. But it does help to make you a better storyteller, a better presenter, because each time you're iterating, just like we do on a Salesforce project, you're iterating, you're focusing in on maybe one thing that you'd like to change, and then you come back and you do that a little bit better next time. And then each time that you're doing a presentation, you're growing a little bit. So I will, at this point, see what time it is and open it up for questions, because the little numbers is 5 minutes. Awesome, thank you. So first, does anybody in the audience have any questions? Otherwise, I'll start to look at the app. Cool. So I know there was at least one question in here, so that gives us a good starting point. And the question that I had seen before are, what are the top mistakes that a presenter can make? And I would say that we saw some of them in the poor demo, but just not prepping, winging it. It happens sometimes that we have to wing it, because especially if you're working in the consultancy space, sometimes you get a call up and are you free for a demo in an hour? have a backup demo prepared. So that way you always have something to show. Or if you do have the time, put the time aside to actually prep and to make your demo. Because you might have noticed here that in the Trailhead org, there was a whole ton of fields. But here, I took all of them off. You only have the stuff I want you to see here. I'm not letting you get distracted by campaign influence. Should I be using campaign influence? What is campaign influence? And that way, you're really getting your users to hone in on what they're using. It may be that they're using other things, but focus on what you're trying to demo that day and make that very honed in. Don't use a Trailhead playground. I'd say that's the other one there. Yeah, and anybody else? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll come back here to this one because we can go back through slides. And yes, it is. I put some questions up here just as prompts that I think about. But it is creating a story arc. So I was a literature major back in the day doing a master's program in a past life. And we would talk a lot about storylines, and it translates really well into giving demos because it helps you to think through that story. And it is just a really quick, easy story. It doesn't need to be anything fancy. But when I'm creating a demo or creating a storyline that I'm trying to tell, I'll actually sketch this out on a Post-it or a piece of paper or an index card. And I'll try to answer these questions. So making sure that I'm hitting some of the points. What does your proposed solution solve? And even when you're delivering a demo, you want to state what is the problem that you're trying to solve before you go into your solution, because then you're just making sure that everybody in the room is on the same page there and at the same level. Yeah, you may have some CEOs that are coming into a demo and got called into this, but they have no idea why they're there because their schedule's entirely too busy. So it's just creating that foundational. And then it also helps you to think through things like the KPIs, which we haven't touched on because it's only a 20-minute session. I feel like I could go on for a day about this. But like the KPIs, what are you going to be measuring? What are you going to be helping them with? What are those business goals that you're trying to accomplish? By creating a story arc, you're answering all of those questions for them. So they don't have to think through, well, how is this solution going to help me at the end of the day? You've already said that in the story for them. Yeah, anybody else? Yeah.
So you said that you spend more time working on demos than the slides here. In terms of like slides or handouts, how important is that? And should you have anything to leave with them?
I think that comes down to personal taste. So the question, I know because we don't have a microphone, is around, I said that I put more time into the demo than the slides. So how do I go around, how important are all of the handouts? And I'd say that that depends on the individual person, but personally, my answer would be that I don't put much reliance on the slides. The slides are more talking points. What I don't want is to put a whole wall of text on the slides. This one is actually too much for me usually. I would pare this down a little bit. But I wanted to have it all in one place so that you could come back and reference it. But otherwise, what ends up happening is that people are reading through your slide instead of listening to what you're saying. So that's where I like the slides to be highlighting my main talking points so that I remember, I make sure I hit every section. But I'm really going to be elaborating on them quite a bit more vocally than I am just giving them a list. And that's where maybe a handout afterwards of saying, oh, well, I have all of this detailed in a handout might be a good idea rather than giving that. You could give it potentially before, but who's going to read it? Like, you're not sure if they're going to actually read it. But once you've caught their interest already, you might be able to do that. Oh, is it time or is it for?
I've got a mic for you.
Oh, OK, cool. Yeah, I think that next to you, did you have a question? Oh, OK.
That wasn't an end.
Yeah, if anybody else has a question, feel free. We have a microphone now.
I'll put the microphone back then.
We're making you walk for nothing here. Awesome. Well, I will go to our very last slide so that we have a nice thank you for our sponsors at the end, because this whole thing wouldn't be available without them. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you for all of you for showing up and not leaving in the middle of the session. That was and yeah, feel free to stop by and talk later on if you do have any other questions or just wanted to say hi.